It's a holy sanctuary, make a blessing on my body, cause I find it necessary. I'll free my femininity, I'll let my body move while I got Shakti raining over me. Give birth to all this energy in between my thighs. I have the universe inside of me. I say welcome to the queendom. And in my queendom, all my walls are made of mirrors. So if you can't see yourself, let your reflection make it clearer in the queendom. Women praising other women, we're loving on each other like the way we should be living in the queendom. We don't compare and shame or jealousy. We're busy celebrating the way God created you and me, the queendom. If you feel the call to freedom, you got the keys to claim your crown and welcome to the queendom. It's a holy sanctuary, make a blessing on my body, cause I find it necessary. I free my femininity, I let my body move while I got Shakti raining over me. Give birth to all this energy in between my thighs. I have a universe inside of me. I say welcome, welcome. And in my
Baby.
we are reclaiming what this hours. We can start a revolution when we learn to own our power in the queendom. Time to stop pretending please and playing weak, because your power is transcendent in the queendom. God be my direction when I pray. I'm making love to you, because you are my protection in the queendom. I'm living with an open heart because the queen knows how to feel the world and turn it into art. To the queendom. So holy sanctuary, make a blessing on my body, cause I find it necessary. I free my femininity, I let my body move while I got Shakti. Between my thighs, I have a universe.
Beautiful.
Still really go.
Welcome to the Queendom. Yes, yes, yes. What a
Holy
tune to
sanctuary, make a
kick
blessing
us
on my
off.
body, cause I find it necessary in the queendom.
It's one of my absolute favorite morning songs to remind me, right, of who I am, remind us who we are, and not in that monarchical sense, but like quite literally in that matriarchal sense, in that holding big space in that, right, where we're not jealous, we're not small, we're not mean girling. So it's a beautiful stuff, and I wanted to share that with you all.
Thank you, my darling, and welcome, welcome to everybody who is watching today on our live Substack or YouTube or wherever you are in the world. I'm very, very excited to introduce to you a real OG Rebel Mark, Desireé B. Stevens, and today we are stepping into the Rebel Matriarch. It's our fifth and final day of the summit. I can't believe it. We've had so much juiciness, and it's only going to keep getting better and better. And yeah, the rebel matriarch, you know, Desiree, when I reached out to her about coming on, she's like, fuck yeah. She was like, the rebel matriarch is where it's at. This is the woman that has accountability. This is the woman, you know, who has integrity. This is the woman who is integrated.
Yes.
And she really resonated with the rebel matriarch archetype. And she really, really, you know, she really called me forward too. I want to tell you that story later in terms of if you're teaching about matriarchy, you got to embody matriarchy. And she kind of explained to me different ways that we could create the structure and the architecture to ensure that we are honoring the matriarch archetype and not just talking about it, but walking our walk. So I really love that about you, Desiree, and I can't wait for our chat today, where we're going to be stepping into and asking ourselves to go a little bit deeper beyond empowerment language, you know, and to really look at how matriarchy is not patriarchy dressed in softer colors or dressed in pink, as Desiree would say. It's a complete reorganization of power around life itself. And Desiree is a somatic educator. She's a counselor and she's the founder of Make Shift Happen, which is a B Corp devoted to liberation through decolonization and whole self healing. And she has her own, very own Liberate framework where she guides individuals, communities, organizations in dismantling supremacy culture and building intentional systems rooted in accountability, care, and collective well being. So, Desiree is going to bring with her like nervous system literacy, restorative justice, shadow work, and structural analysis, which sounds very wordy, but we're going to be in our body too, aren't we? To help us understand that passing leadership from men to women does not automatically transform the system, because if domination remains, the architecture remains. So I'm super excited to hear what you have to say. And the fact that Desiree is in my inbox, she is a writer on Substack that I love to follow, and I love to receive her popping into me. And one day she popped in with this story about women of the revolution in Ireland, and I was like, what? What's this woman doing talking about like all of the revolution? Because Desiree is not only she's in America, but she has
Yeah.
Irish roots, just like me. We are the women of the diaspora. Our grandmothers are rooted in our soil and in our soul, and we hold that flame. We hold that revolutionary flame. We come from lineages of
Yeah.
warrior women who are stand for truth and who fought for freedom. So I'm very excited to have this conversation with you, to call in the energy of our grandmothers here today. Smisha Sirsha, I am daughter of Mary, grandmother of Mary and Madeline, and great granddaughter of Bay and Maggie and Peggy and Margaret. And I call on their energy today to sit with us in this circle. And may we feel like we are holding hands and tending hearts across the land masses and across the lineages and across the timelines, and sending healing back all the generations behind us and all the generations in front. This is why we do this work.
That was so amazing and so powerful, and you made me sound so wonderful. But yes, we're going to call on all the powers of the grandmothers as we bring forth discussing matriarchal power. And as I do note, it is not the patriarchy in pink. And obviously, I'm here in America. So I come with an American lens, right, of where white feminism was the push forward of empowering women, right? So you have to bring together those two things. There's no way to do one without also recognizing the racism, the anti-Blackness in the room, in the space, right? So white feminism pushed white women forward, but sadly, it pushed white women to only mimic white men, right? So that domination still continues on. Oh my. Okay, so sorry about that. I had a tiny human calling me,
That's
and
okay. We are mothers first and foremost. So the
I know I'm like, I'm working. Hello, Morgan. I have to go. I'm working. Welcome to being a matriarch in
Hi,
real time.
Morgan.
Like,
Whenever you come over here, can you help me with this Robux thing?
yes, or ask Erin.
You're stinky.
Okay, I love you. Bye, Morgan. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Mwah. Anywho, like, thank you guys for allowing me to be human. That's
Yeah.
a perfect segue into the conversation, right? I want us to really sit down, and we're going to get into our bodies. Beforehand, I played the song Queendom and thinking about what those systems look like, right? So most of us arrived to this work because somewhere in our lives we sensed that something was wrong with the systems, right? We were raised inside of. You start waking up to those things like, this is not working, right? This is draining us. It's stripping us of our humanity in all of the ways. This is a perfect example, right? We are supposed to have been thrust into the workforce, work like men, be like men, but we are still meant to be the caretakers, right? Take care of your home, take care, look pretty, smile, doing all of this performance because it is still the same domination structure. There's no new architect. It is simply asking us, which it then fed into capitalism, right? Because now you have a two-family income. So you start bringing together all of the systemic issues of supremacy culture, and you start realizing there is no reformation. There is only a dismantling and a rebuilding through our indigenous practices, right? And we are all indigenous to somewhere, right? As you mentioned, right? We all carry that lineage. We all have a diaspora story. None of it is joyous, right? Not many people got up and left their lands because they're, hey, I don't like it here anymore. Like, it was enslavement, it was indentured servitude, it was colonization, it was Christianization. It's always from a space of violence and male domination. Right. So when we recognize that, when we realize that, when we come into that truth and hold that into our body, as matriarchs, we're not intended to rebrand that, right? We're not supposed to say, yeah, we're in charge now, women, and act in that same way. We have to change the frameworks. We have to recognize that it's child-centered, it's life-centered. We have to take care of our elders. And more importantly, matriarchy is secular, right? It is circular and cyclical. It comes this way because we are, like you said, 7 generations back, 7 generations ahead, right? I'm not preparing my children for a world I came up in. That world no longer exists.
Mm.
I want to build a world that they will come up in. I want us to collectively do that by dismantling supremacy culture, moving through those 15 pillars, transmuting that into something that is healing and doing the work that way, beginning with ourselves. So that is my opening. And with that, I want to say, take a breath. Take care of your bodies first. Make sure you have your water, your warm drink. Saoirse is amazing. So this is international. It is 8 p.m. at night where I'm at, so I have water, but where she is at in Bali, it is coffee time. And I'm
Yeah.
so jealous of the coffee. So before that, I want you to recognize that you do not need to perform readiness, right? There will be things that I say that make you uncomfortable. Take that as information, right? Our job is to say and pay attention to our body. And, oh, that made me uncomfortable. I didn't, that's new. That's a new feeling. Sensing where that comes up in your body. Oh, that hit me in my gut, right? Like as a solid core truth for you, right? Or you felt tense somewhere, but start paying attention to your body as we kind of move through that, because we're going to examine these systems that have shaped us and how we're going to dismantle that. Okay. So I'm gonna get
Mm.
me a sip of water because I like that. Before we fully begin, I want to always open up with consent because I believe in consent in everything, enthusiastic consent, right? It's not just for the bedroom people, consent is everywhere. That is another stabilizing core thing of matriarchy. So I want to say that before we move forward, let's make a few agreements in this space. You're invited to participate at the level that feels right for your body today, whether that's commenting, whether that's coming back later, whatever the container allows, right? Observation is also participation. You do not have to be actively doing something to feel like you are participating, listening, ingesting, metabolizing, right? That is also participation. You do not owe anyone your vulnerability. If you're not comfortable being vulnerable in the space when we open up for chats, what have you, that's fine. You do not have to perform for anyone. If something activates you, again, that's information. You could stay with it, you could pause, you could step away, and you can come back. There will be a replay. You don't have to sit through everything. You may hear something that just like you need to process and work through, and that's it. I heard that. I'll come back to the rest. What I heard right now was enough for me to go through. So just remembering that integration happens at your own pace. Okay. Okay. Awesome. So I'm not entirely sure. Are you happy with me carrying on? Or did you have anything that you wanted to say? Because I was going to offer another song choice
Oh,
whilst we move
I'm
through to
good. No, you've got the mic now. You go for gold. Really, I love how
Oh,
you
I
have
love that. Okay.
how you opened up with the agreements and, you know, asking for consent. That's really beautiful. I love that. You've just showed me exactly what you were talking about in our conversation, how it actually works in real time and how it can be simple. It doesn't have to be fancy, you know? I just love that.
Doesn't. It really doesn't, right? Like it's sometimes people, we just need permission, right? When we're talking about supremacy culture and how it has shaped our bodies and our ways and our socialization, it is a non-consensual system. It
Mm.
never asked any of us anything that we wanted to be. It didn't ask our gender, it didn't ask our race, it didn't ask us what we wanted to do, right? When you're talking about matriarchy, there's a definition of what it is to be a woman inside of a patriarchal system, isn't there? And that's one as a Black woman that was never meant for me. And then when you're a white-bodied woman, there's an expectation of how you should look, how you should walk, how you should talk, how you should perform constantly, that then we were forced into in order to survive that culture. And women across the globe, we could see, are still constantly trying to survive in survival mode. We do recognize that patriarchy hurts men first, but shit rolls downhill, friends. So, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like sometimes just to break it up, we just got to be like, hey, you can come, you can go, you can do what you want to do, and remind people that they have agency, very specifically women, that they have agency, that they have the ability to say no, which
Mhm.
is not something that happens very often in this society underneath the patriarchal system. So,
I love that. I love that. And no is a full sentence, you know. I've just been teaching
always,
my little girl, Fia, who's like nearly 8, but I've been teaching her what yes and no feels like in her body, you know, so that she can honor her body and honor her yes and honor her no. Know what excites her, know what feels like constricting to her. And recently she has a friend who's really trying to manipulate her into giving her something that she doesn't want to give. And Fia was like, you know, she asked me, and in my body, it felt like a no, but I said yes because I didn't want her to be mad at me. And I was like, oh, babe, like really great awareness. But let's
yeah,
work on how we can keep no as a complete sentence and don't let others manipulate you into, you know,
right.
saying yes because you think it's going to make them treat you better or you think it's going to stop her from being mad at you. Like, let her get mad and tell her to.
Yeah, nobody ever died from being mad. She'll be absolutely okay. Like, no is, I have a mug that says that actually. No is a complete sentence. And it doesn't owe an explanation either,
Yeah.
right? Like it doesn't need to be no and then no.
Yes,
My
exactly.
favorite line is absolutely not. Like, I need you to know it is an absolute complete no.
Yeah, yeah. I say hell no, or else I say
Absolutely
hell
not.
no.
Absolutely not. Absolutely fucking not sometimes. But yeah, absolutely not is my favorite. So we're going to move into our first somatic pause here, right? Just to get back into our bodies, to receive the information, because we're going to break down what patriarchy is, right? The intersections of what that looks like. We'll touch on some of those 15 pillars of supremacy culture that are activated within it, the way to transmute that, and just kind of move through. I do have a very strict agenda, but I am not the person that could stick to it. But if I don't have one, I will do this.
Okay. Well, I'll try and not talk too much too because I love.
No, talk to me, talk to me. That's fine as well. All right, let me play this song. I love this music. I will provide a playlist as well to you so you can send out. So if anybody would like to enjoy this is Tony Jones. I'm saying, okay. So can you hear me and the music? All right, lovely.
The music is a little bit, it's not great sound, but
I'm saying, is that better?
yeah.
Okay, I lowered it. So listen, I want you to place your feet on the floor, whatever surface is near you. Sanctuary. Teach me the truth of myself. I want you to notice your weight. Spiritual immune system. Is fraudulent. How does it feel against where you're sitting? Chest move I play. Feeling your body. This is what puts me on game. Take one slow breath. Now I must own the role of the high priestess of who I am. In sanctuary, I find sovereignty guiding me. I accept initiation.
into deep study.
As you're listening to these words of sanctuary, recognizing you're holy,
I denounce all imagery, manipulated.
I want you to
messaging,
take in
false
these
worship,
words
and self-loathing about
and
women.
solid
I'm a mystical woman.
and
My
ask
past
yourself,
goes far past
how much of
the
your
physical.
life has required you to perform competence?
I stay
And
patient,
notice where your body
knowing
felt that question, right? Was it in your jaw? Was it in your chest?
what my life
Did your breath
represents.
tighten? Did you constrict, like Saoirse was talking about? There's nothing that you need to fix. Just sit with it.
I denounce all conditioning of hyper independence and obsession to win. I denounce all false gods, leading
Breathing.
celebrities that feed into soul poverty. I have feminine faith. Deep in my mind, there's an inner sanctuary. What is at the altar? What are the sacrificial offerings? I can feel it. Maybe everything. I can feel myself being drawn to this place. I fall to my knees and I allow through my mental bow, my heartfelt bow. In this sacred cocoon, I am being rebirthed. I'm grieving what I thought would go. Stripping away shame. I shared the pettiness. I know petty is played out.
Isn't that beautiful? Shedding what we have been conditioned into is exactly the energy I want to bring into this because we need to define what patriarchy is. Because when people hear the word patriarchy, they often just imagine a group of men holding power, right? Like it leads into misandry. That is a very uncomfortable thing. Like people do not like to hear that word. But I use it because that is what happens, right? What we're doing here in this space, in this place, is naming patriarchy as something different, as an operating system. No different from your phone, your computers, right? Like I'm old enough to remember DOS, right? But now I'm using Apple. So like that operating system is the standard. That is the basic. That's going to inform every single thing that happens that gets sprouted from that. It's a structural pattern. It organizes power through domination, control, and extraction, right? We could kind of all agree to that. So that operating system reproduces itself through a behavior pattern, and those patterns are called the 15 pillars of supremacy culture. When I came across this, the 15 pillars are not mine. I never try to claim them. Um, I was like, my brain just lit up. And it was just amazing. I was like, this makes so much sense, right? I'm a pattern seer, right? Like I can see that bigger picture. I could see all of the things that are kind of happening at the same time. So when I came across these 15 pillars, I was like, oh, I'm gonna run with this. I'm gonna run with this and I'm going to attach it to all of the systems of oppression because they are initially the 15 pillars of white supremacy culture. But white supremacy is only something that impacts Black bodies, right? Black and brown bodies. They are not something that impact white bodies. And I was like, how do I bring white body people into this work? Because oppression exists at every level for every person. So I worked with it and I was like, okay, just 15 pillars, supremacy culture. We could deal with all oppression at the same time. So during this one, though, we're going to deal with certain ones such as urgency, perfectionism, power hoarding, individualism, and defensiveness. And these patterns show up in our body and they often feel like values, right? Productivity starts feeling virtuous, right? Look at all of the work that I've done. Look how I've been able to go to work, do the laundry, cook, take care of the kids. I don't, I don't, that's extraction, right? Like, how much can I put my body through and seen as valuable inside of a system that devalues us all, right? So that was never something that kind of that gelled with me in my body. And I think many of us feel like, I'd rather not be doing all of these things. And that is what it takes is to recognize how these systems are harming us, how patriarchal systems are absolutely killing us at all levels, right? So another one is efficiency, how it feels responsible. Again, you got all of these things done in an 8-hour time. You killed yourself, friends. You harmed yourself. There's no reward like for efficiency. There's none. There is a capitalistic exchange and extraction of your work, your labor, it takes as much as it can from you and gives you the bare minimum that it can offer you and get away with legally, but there's no real true reward. Control also often feels like leadership. We do this in our homes, right? We're running everything. You often hear when we are talking about patriarchal systems, we talk about, weaponized incompetence, and we talk about the emotional labor and load that's usually placed on women and feminine bodies. And I like to look at the other side of it. And I'm like, how much did we allow as well? Ooh, that's uncomfortable. I know. Take a breath and stay with me. Because when we hear that as women, it starts activating our bodies like, I'm not going to take responsibility for men. I'm not, and I'm not asking you to. But there is a difference of being responsible for and responsible to. And when we are talking about becoming matriarchal, we are responsible to those that we lead. And the truth of the matter is, men want to be led. Don't let them lie to you. Like that weaponized incompetence is because they want to be led. Step into that, right? Like if you're step, I love that for you. And not always a honeydew list, but like let's do this. So we're gonna lead through child-centered, right? I'm gonna lead my children, like how you did with your child, right? Oh, well, I'm gonna teach you through your body. What does that feel like? And now everybody has to kind of fall in line with that, which means he does too. Sir, you have to touch your emotions too, or I will leave you. Like, this is where it starts becoming more empowering, right? When you're saying we're not going to adhere to any of those rules out there. I don't know what you have to do to survive out there. I know here in this space, in our home, in our microcosm, in the community that we are building, we are dismantling all of that. We are not going to do those things. We are not killing ourselves. I'm not doing that. We're going to be equitable partners, or we can't partner, right? And then when you do that, you start dismantling also the hierarchy that's given that romantic partners are supposed to be the most important partnerships that we have in our life. Why? I've built my life with many people, and I've been married twice. So I have children, but these people are that are in my life, my community, are my partners. Right? But because of the systems that have been handed to us by supremacy culture underneath a patriarchal rule, everything has a box and it's often stratified in a pyramid, right? And for women, the highest relationship and partnership we should ever aspire to is having a man. This leaves out queer people. This leaves out asexual people. This leads out so many humans across the spectrum of humanity. This also creates domination. So when we're talking about matriarchal systems, we have to examine the patriarchy, see how we've played into it, even if it was just for survival. I'm not saying that it's not we do a lot of things to survive, but we are no longer seeking survival. We are seeking thriving. We are seeking to dismantle, to recreate something ancient that Saoirse called in at the beginning, what our grandmothers, 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 grandmothers have done, where we are stewarding the land, the people around us. And that does take really examining the systems and seeing how we've supported it. And that is very uncomfortable. I super duper recognize that. And people will get activated. And again, I want to go back to our reminders that you could leave at any time and return, that you could turn around and say, you know what, that's enough for me. I need to process that and integrate it. Do what feels right for you. There's nothing here but you. You exist, you matter, and this information comes as it's needed. But if you're activated and if you have the ability to stay, take a deep breath, take three if you need to, write it down, do what you need to do, but stay when you're comfortable, right? Like sit with that, like, I didn't like the way that felt. But ask yourself why, because we have all played a game for survival. And if we are seeking to do something different, then we have to admit the roles we played. In my first marriage, I did all of the traditional things. Oh, my husband could not boil water. Like, I did all of those things. That was my part of playing in the patriarchy, right? I'm not saying that I'm perfect. Nobody's asking for perfectionism. That's a pillar of supremacy culture. I'm asking you to be honest and hold the both and. So we'll take a breath right there. Metabolize that. Allow that. I cannot see chat. So if there is anything that is there, I don't even know if that's allowed in or currently actively available, but if there is, I'm happy to for you to share that with me.
People can chat on Substack and we can answer. I'm watching so I can see if there's
Okay.
anybody commenting. So if anyone would just want to drop a comment down, like you can encourage it for sure. And
Okay,
I can
brilliant.
let you know when they've come through.
All right, because I do have a chat prompt here, right? Because I want you to do me a favor and drop one word in that chat and ask yourself, how does patriarchy show up in your body? Do you feel it as tension? Do you feel it as pressure? Do you feel it as over responsibility? Just one word. What does it feel like? Overbearing, exhausting, violent. There are so many words that can describe it. Fucking enraging is debating as fuck and true because I'm going to tell you why it's enraging to me. It's not even serving the men. Right? Like it's not even serving the men folk. And I'm like, you guys are participating in your own demise because women are waking up and we are leaving you. Like, and we are leaving you with joy, with glee. We are taking our children. We are building matriarchal systems and villages. I know three women off the top of my head that have literally purchased land and are creating a co-living situation for solo moms. We are no longer, we don't need the survival, right? That's what I'm talking about, is recognizing the parts that we played is simply accountability, right? And just saying, you know what? Great. This is where I played into it. It's going to give you an awareness on what not to do going forward. That's the best, right? It's information gathering. Okay, you know, so I played all of these roles. It was for survival. Well, friends, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. And that is super, it should be empowering, right? To recognize that you don't have to. As we move into the next space, right? I want you to think about the patriarchy in pink. Ooh, again, uncomfortable, deeply uncomfortable. Sarah's like, why? Like, but Sarah likes uncomfortable. That's why. So she invited me because she knew I was a ball buster.
You know it.
Okay, so we're coming to the patriarchy in pink. This is what happens when domination gets rebranded instead of dismantled, right? We see it all the time. Leadership that looks progressive, language that sounds liberatory, but structurally, not a damn thing has changed. That is a problem, right? Representation has changed, but the architecture of power is still the same exact thing. It's not being changed, it's not shifting. A woman can lead a system and still replicate domination, right? This is where intersectionality comes into play. Very specifically, anti-Blackness, racism, queer phobia, anti-Semitism, all of these things, right? But mostly, again, because I come from an American lens, I deal with anti-Blackness, racism. White women have this idea that all of a sudden, because they are releasing the patriarchy, that we are sisters in arms without ever dismantling the power that you have over us simply by existing, that you didn't ask for. Again, supremacy culture is a non-consensual system, but it does take you recognizing and realizing that no, if these things, these systems do not impact us the same. Patriarchy doesn't impact us the same, right? I don't have the same domination issues with Black men as white women do with white men, right? That is a very important aspect to recognize. Don't. They don't have the same power that white men have in the patriarchy. Like white women, black men are tools of the patriarchy. And quite literally, it is quite foolish when I hear black men even try to pretend to do the patriarchy. I'm like, sir, you are black. Shh. Like, this is a non-starter, okay? We got off those same boats that we were drug here, and we've been working side by side since we've been trafficked and enslaved. I won't even entertain your foolishness. I shan't. So I'm not doing this with you. Like, you sound ridiculous. Stop talking. So noticing that, right? Like recognizing how these systems impact us differently is part of how you build that trust, right? How you build that community, how you can come into spaces and have intentional community. Because there's no point in pretending, right? I have plenty of friends, but there's no point in pretending that we're two different people, right? Yesterday, Saoirse and I were having conversations about like our family, and I'm like, oh, my family's from County Sligo. She's like, mine too. And I'm like, oh, I come from the Healy clan. She's like, oh my God, I know so many Healys. I have Healy in my family. There's nowhere in the world I'm going to go and be treated like a white woman. And we could be first cousins for all I know. Right? Like, but that is the implication of race, and that is why it's not real, right? That is the construct. But unfortunately, the implications and the way the systemic violence trickles down is real. So, in order to build true matriarchal systems and dismantle patriarchal systems, we do have to be intersectional. We have to recognize that the patriarchy does not impact Black women the way it does white women. It does not impact trans women the way it impacts cis women, queer women, fat women, disabled women, right? And when you are sitting there, it's not we're all women. That's a very blinding take, right? It's a very flattened take. And it is one that the patriarchy wants you to take because the patriarchy systems are flattened systems, right? This is what men do. Beat on chest. Go and get food for me, woman. This is what women do. It's a very flattened thing, and it does not even include all men. So that is where intersectionality comes into it so deeply if you want to truthfully dismantle, right? So for a movement, right? Like, because a woman could lead the system, like I said, and still replicate the domination. A movement could speak the language of justice and still reproduce extraction. We see it all the time in anti-racism work. We see it in DEI work. We see it everywhere. It's constantly replicating the same thing. That is what I mean by the patriarchy in pink, right?
So can I quickly ask you there? Because, yeah, I'm passionate about understanding this more. And as a white woman, putting the architecture in place to be able to not just speak the words, but actually embody it. What are the tips you'd give people who lead movements or lead, courses or lead whatever it is in leadership? Because that's the summit, is the leadership summit. How can we better create structures of intersectionality that hold people with reverence and aren't just adding to the problem or being patriarchy in pink?
Well, actually, this conversation,
Mhm.
asking that, right? Leadership needs to ask. When you think about patriarchy and this, it doesn't ask, it takes. Patriarchal systems built on a supremacy culture are non-consensual. It does not ask. It never asks. So part of that in your leadership is how can I make this comfortable for you? What am I missing here? What am I seeing? And not taking whomever is speaking, right? Because I'm just here as a Black woman speaking, but I can't speak for trans women. I can't do that. I could tell you what I've heard. I could tell you what they need from what I listen to, right? But bringing all of those people into these spaces and asking them very specifically, right? One of my favorite quotes by Rumi is, our task is not to seek for love, but merely seek the boundaries that we've created within ourselves against it.
I love that.
I have it tattooed on my arm. I have a bunch of quotes tattooed on my arm that are just like powerful, indelible, and I need to be a part of me. And I've taken that and I've asked myself that in regard to all barriers. So in leadership, ask yourself who's in the room and more importantly, who's not. And when you recognize who's not, ask why are they not? What system is the barrier from them being in the room? If you are having a leadership summit and every single woman looks like you, why? Why are there not fat women? Why are there not disabled women? Why are there not queer, trans, visibly? Why or not? That would be my simplest but most impactful advice. Simply seek who's not in the room and what is the barrier as to why they're not. Is that good?
Yeah, I love
Did that
that. Yeah,
feel
thank you.
okay? Awesome. Did you have a follow-up?
No, that's great. I mean, just sometimes it's not as easy to get everybody into the room. You know, you can put out invitations, but they don't accept or whatever. So, and that was it was a huge part of my journey. You know, I publish anthology books, and my first book was very white women in it, you know. And I didn't realize until after the fact, or like very close to publishing, and I was like, fuck, this doesn't represent actually the world. This is too many white women in here, like speaking from a lens of privilege, you know. So I really I went out and I asked people that I knew that, you know, could contribute in a way that then was intersectional, and that really helped me to expand then. And in the next book and the book after that, it was much more multicultural, much more intersectional, began to introduce you know, scholarships and a system where it was reciprocity if someone had the money to invest and you know, create this space for themselves to be able to publish their story in this global book, then they opened up the space for another woman with less financial abundance on the front line of
Right.
the revolution that need to be heard, that get to narrate their history on their terms, the ones whose voices have really been like stolen and suppressed, you know. And that really gave me so much more purpose, and it gave the people writing the book who were contributing in financial ways to make it happen more purpose too, and more meaning and depth to the fact that they were actually, you know, holding the other women's hand and being a stand for them and their stories too. So it just adds so much more. Yeah, beauty when we can do that in a circle of true sisterhood and reciprocity.
Right. And so part of the not getting people in the room too is the trust building, right? Because what unfortunately, so I have a different lens on it because of being having a mixed identity. I my blackness never barred me from being Irish, and my Irishness never barred me from being black, right? I don't so I grew up with having an ethnic identity, which I'm sure you did as well. So the black white thing is a very Americanized thing. Even when I lived in England, they recognized me more as Irish and hated me because I was American. Like I didn't feel the racism. I definitely felt the nationalism. Like they're like fucking Yank. You know, and I was like, fair. Like fair assessment, fair. But what happens with that is like white-bodied women have to recognize that even with you having an ethnic identity, right? And even with you being so connected to the Irish diaspora and the Irish resistance and resilience, that for you are going to be treated as you are perceived in this world. Right. So I think that that's something that needs to be brought into sisterhood too, is that no matter who or what or how you identify as, you will be treated according to these systems, right? These patriarchal systems, these supremacy culture, as how you are perceived, right? So you may be an Irish woman who has all of this history, lineage, understands it, it's living in your body. And so you're coming to this work with that resilience, that rebel, right? That's just like, because like I tell people all the time, I'm like, I came into this work because the way I am, because I'm Irish. It's
Mm.
like I don't even know how any way else to be. My mother was an Irish rebellious woman who did, you know, like social work and she was in people's faces and my grandma, well, I don't even know how else to be, right? And it's just very cultural to me and any other Irish woman I've ever met. So it just feels very natural to me. And that is the line and lineage that brought me into my rebellion. And, you know, I named my youngest Morrigan because I'm like, yes, like let's bring you Earthside and that energy. And she is the most sovereign person I have ever met. But that being said, is white-bodied women have to recognize in building matriarchy, in building sisterhood, that you come, unfortunately, with a history, whether it's true or not, right? Because that history wouldn't be true for you the way it would be for white American women. But because you are perceived as such, there is trust that needs to be built, right? So that first book becomes proof that you can't be trusted. Look at you guys. You're making this global book and you didn't find one black person, one brown person, one queer person, one marginalized person outside of the realm of whiteness. And so then that just
Well, I
proves
did find a few, but it wasn't widespread.
fair. Well, you didn't say you had a few, but you know what I'm saying? Like it was overwhelmingly, which is odd when you think about it, because white people are the global minority. Global minority. White-bodied people are the global minority. So to not be able to find voices from the global majority, right, shows us exactly how constricting these systems are. For me, that's what I mean by take whatever is coming up for you, take the information, take it as that. It's information. When I see something like that as a systems thinker, I'm like, this is literally how constricting supremacy culture and patriarchal systems are. That you could not find, it should have been harder to find white voices, right? When you're talking about it from the global majority. But then as you grow and you take that accountability, that's your trust building, right? It's not just performance. I'm not just going to be bringing people on. I recognize a role that I played in it, right? That kind of goes back to my first point. You played a role in that part of supremacy culture. And then you recognize that, took accountability, and you did the work. You did the repair work, right? You didn't just put fancy language to it. You didn't just say, "Oh, this is what oh, I'm so sorry," and force people to console you and make you feel better. You're like, "Oh, I recognized this is not top tier, and I'm going to do better." And then you continuously did better, and that's how you build trust. That's how you build sisterhood. That's how you build that matriarch. We have to be able to rely on each other. And in order to be able to rely on each other, we need to know where we harm each other. And sometimes we harm each other simply by existing, right? And sometimes we do things actively that also harm each other. And most of what matriarchal systems is about sustainability and repair, right? I've been asked the question over and over again, and I'm like, I expect people to be exactly who they are. I fully expect people to show up as they are conditioned, as they are socialized, and to show up as they are. And in doing so, it allows me to offer them the space for repair. I know you're gonna fuck up because you're human and we're gonna fuck up. Like
Mhm.
there's no surprise to that, right? I know you're going to fuck up. We're human. You're going to fuck up. I know that you've been socialized to be a white woman, so you're going to do white woman things. Okay, how are we going to coexist, right? Because our matriarchy cannot mimic patriarchy, and patriarchy literally feeds into capitalism, childism, ableism, uh, homophobia. I could go through all of the systems, right? Like, so we can't do that. We have to be deeply mindful. My goodness, look at me, Chad. I'm okay. Look, I'm trying to move through. But thank you.
But yeah, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I enjoy like an honest, open conversation, like over a format, but I do want to get some key points in before I have to run out because I know you also have another amazing call. I want to sign in to see that one, to watch that one. So I do want to be respectful of that as well. So the rebel matriarch, we're going to kind of skip through a couple things. I kind of skipped through that, but that is the patriarchy in pink. That is what I mean, right? Like that summation is that you have got to be aware that in order to have a true matriarchal system and sisterhood, you're going to have to recognize that you've partook and sometimes continue to partake of these systems, and you need to be doing the active repair work to dismantle those systems in order to build trust, because we're not individuals when we're talking about systems. You are coming with hundreds of years of violence against us, the global majority, right? And though that is you were an unwilling participant sometimes, because those queens were wicked. But anyway, that's another time. So the rebel matriarch as architect. Ta-da! Here's what we're talking about. The rebel matriarch does not seek power, right? She redesigns systems. So that means moving from aesthetics to architecture, right? We're not going to
Say that
just put
again?
on, say what again?
Sorry, the rebel matriarch.
Oh, the rebel matriarch does not seek power. She redesigns systems. And that means moving from aesthetics to actual architecture, from empowerment language to structural change. So in this work, we start practicing that liberation in the three places that I always do if you read anything from me, and that's self, home, and work. Always. Because liberation cannot live only in ideology. We can't just be talking about it. We have to actually do the work. Like we have to do the work, right? So let's apply a framework here, right? So let's say I say child-centered governance. What does that look like? What does that feel like to you, right? So you would choose a system in your life, right? So I'm going to say child-centered governance. I'm going to choose my family. And then you ask yourself, what structural redesign could happen within 7 days? And if you're hearing this, you're listening, write down one shift, like right now, one shift. I can give you an example of this morning. My son had an IEP meeting this week. He's very well aware of his diagnoses. He's very well aware of what an IEP is. And he sat down with me yesterday, came home from school. He was like, school is a job. And I was like, it is. He was like, I'm there 7 to 8 hours and nobody's paying me. And I'm like, this kid listens to me too much. Like, because I always talk about that. I'm like, children work, right? Like, we've never moved away from, when we're talking about redesigning systems, we've never moved away from child labor. This is still child labor. School only exists so we could feed capitalism, so we have free childcare, and our children could be indoctrinated into systems.
Oh,
Let's be fucking honest. Like, let's be real. Like child labor has never ended. Even our schools exist. Our school calendars are based on a farmer's calendar. So we could ensure that we have them to labor. Like it's never ended. So I was like, fair enough, buddy. He was like, give me $1. And I was like, got it. So he saw that and he then decided, you know what? I'm going to negotiate for more, which thank God, because $1. But I was like, you know what? That you get what you ask for, bud. So today he asked for $10 and he said, here's what I'm willing to do in school. And he gave me a list. And I said, I like that. And he said how he was going to use his supports. If he gets upset, he gets frustrated, whatever. And he came home, he honored his commitment, and I paid him. That's child-led governance. That's autonomy. That's agency. That's him learning that his labor is never free. And not in an extractive sense, right? We also don't do homework here. So you got to just figure out what's your structural shift for your home, for yourself, for your job. Just choose one. I'm giving you these options: child-centered governance, redistribution, or repair before punishment, right? Kind of like when we just gave the example with Saoirse, right? I'm not going to punish her by not buying her book. That is a punishment inside of capitalism. This happens quite often in white women, liberal, progressive spaces, right? Immediately, somebody doesn't do something that you like, align with, agree with, you will strip away their ability to eat. That is very patriarchal. Like, I don't know if you've noticed that, but you're not offering a chance for repair. Hey, Saoirse, by the way, I love this book, but I did notice you do not have a lot of voices from the global majority. And I want to know what you plan on doing about that, at least in your next one. Give that person a chance to repair it. You know what? I didn't even notice that because many don't. We've been socialized into these systems for so long. You know what? I didn't notice it. Saoirse happened to notice it. Many of you do not. That's okay. We expect that. That's what socialization does, right? So if we kind of go through these frameworks, again, I'm trying to run through these things. Child-centered governance means evaluating decisions based on the most vulnerable, just so you know what I'm asking of you, right? I always tell people if you want to be in this work, dismantling supremacy culture, I want you to think about one person, the most unambiguously Black, disabled, queer, trans, poor, non-Christian adopted child. You do whatever you can to make the world equitable for that one kid, you will meet the needs of everyone across the globe. That's child-centered governance. I make it as simple as you possibly can, right? So you evaluate all your decisions based on the most vulnerable. Now, obviously, the most vulnerable where you are. Start here, right? Think globally, act locally. Who's the most vulnerable in your home? Who's the most vulnerable person at your work? Who's the most vulnerable person in your community, right? That is child-centered governance. Redistribution audit. Map your power, map your resources, your rest and visibility. What power do you have? Often, white feminism will teach you that you have no power, right? Because that's the lie that patriarchy wants you to believe. You have absolutely no power unless you're attached to a man. That's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Most men don't have as much power as they think they do. I'm like, I'm not listening to that. You sound stupid. They don't. They don't. They are pretending and it's not working. I'm like, it's killing you. It's not even working for you. You sound ridiculous. We can see that now with the like world wars going on. Like, you're not gonna kick shit because you're sitting in your living room. Like, you're not kicking nobody's ass, okay? And you haven't kicked ass in 20 years. Stop talking immediately. So thinking about that, right? So map your own power. What power do you have in your community, in your home, in your space, and use that in a way, again, now you're going to tie that back into to help the most vulnerable person. What resources do you have, right? You may not be able to do all of the things. Can you start a community garden? Can you have a free pantry? Can you take your neighbor to work? Can you bring soup to the neighbor? Can you share your lawnmower? These are small shifts, right? Because again, you start thinking intersectionally, you start thinking systemically. And I often give the example of everybody on your block doesn't need to have a lawnmower. That's capitalism, right? And that's anti-community because it forces you to be isolated and you cannot have a matriarchal system. We need to lean on each other because if you could do this and I could do that and they could do this, now we're all doing these things together. Then the third framework is repair before punishment. Address harm through accountability and structural redesign. I gave you the example. Hey, Saoirse, I recognize that your book was lacking the global majority. Ugh. How the hell did that happen? I don't know. But here's what I'm thinking. And are you willing, right? Get back into that consent language always. Are you willing to make the repair, right? And don't defend it, right? Like, oh, well, nobody wants to hear that, right? Because now you're taking that accountability away and you're placing the onus on the person who's been harmed. Again, going back to that, the most vulnerable in the space, and you are placing the onus on them to forgive you. That is not okay. That is not okay. And that is not matriarchal. You're not leading anything. You are manipulating. So right there, I'm going to take a pause, drink some water, soften your jaw, unclench your hands, slow breath. Move a little bit because that's super tense. And check in with your body. Where are you feeling that, right? Where did that come in? Like, oh, you know what? I didn't like anything that she said right there. Like, who is she talking to? She's supposed to make me feel good. You're gonna feel good, I promise. But it's no way through it but to go through it. You know what I mean? So rub your hands together. I'm gonna try to move through things. I had like activities and everything, but y'all know I get to talking and that's it. It's over. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a chatty Cathy. Okay. So I want you to think about here's an activity, and this will get sent out with the replay, however Saoirse does it. And if you are on my Substack or what have you, the replay will be there. And if you know me, I always kind of veer here and there because I trust intuition and source and spirit to just guide things where they need to go. But the replay is like so A-brained, you wonder if it's the same people. So you will get this. But I had an activity here, right, where you get to do a matriarchal governance statement, which I think is super important. So we are going to take that moment and I'll play a little music. We'll take maybe like 60 seconds. It was supposed to be like 3 minutes, but let's at least begin it, right? So take a few minutes, begin writing your governance statement. So here, I want you to use these kind of things. In my leadership, I commit okay, to center the most vulnerable, I will. When harm happens, I will. The first system I will redesign is, and you just fill that out. It could be one word, it could be whatever. I will allow the song to play in the background whilst you do that.
Eyes as a gift, miss me with the incompetent insight. The hidden things are revealed to me in the sanctuary. Because the great I am saw it first. It said something. And I can't unsee it. I can't unhear it. I'm really careful of the 411. Take in on social media. My mind is a temple. I'm guarded accordingly. I'm saying to her. I'm saying to her. All my life is content and for my ascension. I use it all to get more holy, more sanctified. I am walking scriptures, personified in womanhood, heavy on the spiritual. Because divinity is in the details. That's what makes me undeniable. I annihilate, obliterate all sorcery, generational spells, curses that keep me in a state of deep sleep. Numbness to my majestic magic that's encoded in my DNA. I will not permit incompatible energies to infiltrate my sanctuary. At the core of my heart space, feminine mystery is downloading to my behavior through devotional prayer as I speak, as I receive, as I step into the room. In this temple, ceremony is going down. I bow and surrender my attachment to the desires of my heart happening, laying it all down at the altar of sovereign strategy. I vow to drink from the word spirit put in my mouth. Embodied growth, priestess swag has taken over. I feel low-key sanctified. The miracles, the confidence are flowing in biblical proportions. I have wisdom inside of me. Being aligned is a lifetime of clarity for my life. I have realized the ageless knowing of self with this sanctuary. I'm sanctuary. I express and live my life in a state of engaged non-attachment. When I realize I'm sliding back into emotional attachment to a perspective, I breathe deeply and return to a grounded state. I'm a sacred temple. No one who meets me is ever the same. My body is sacred. My mind is sacred. My eyes are sacred. My conversation is sacred. My time and energy is sacred. I'm walking, thinking, feeling sanctuary. I choose my lover, partner, and friends wisely. I'm a vessel for spiritual enlightenment, not spiritual entertainment. I can only allow
I'm gonna bring us back
for those that are
home
for me. I welcome synchronicity.
because I want to honor the time and the container, and I am truthfully enjoying myself. And this I love this song as well because part of that matriarchal governance, part of coming back to what has always existed is recognizing that you are a sanctuary, recognizing that you are worthy, right? Of a life that is abundant, abundant with deep connections, sisterhood, happy children, loving partners, right? Men that exist in your life. Part of that dismantling of that patriarchy, one thing that has opened up for me is amazing men in my life that I do not have to sleep with. One of my favorite lines is pussy is not my price. Like, that's not the price that I pay for friendship, for connection, for help, for community. And I have amazing men because matriarchy centers you, right? It's that decentering of men. It is the dismantling of the patriarchy, recognizing that you are so powerful, so abundant, so amazing, and so capable of creating something. It's just innate. It's just something that you have to tap back into, right? Most of it is, we'll do these courses and these workshops and you want the language and you want to hear the checklist and the step by step. And I'm telling you that it comes from recognizing that you are the sanctuary. You are the holy temple, right? You are the architect of every single thing that you desire, and not in that wellness way, right? Like just sit down and think it through or breathe it through in a very true way. It is encoded in our DNA. Right? We are intended to live in this way with ease, with children at the center, caring for our elders, being deeply supported by each other and others. And then for the rest of them, weed them out of the gene pool. I cannot be any more clear. I have been saying that for years. Weed them out of the gene pool. You do not like him. You do not like what he does. Stop fucking him and stop feeding him.
Boom.
That is my simplest answer, right? And in order to have a safe place to land when you are exiting these spaces and patriarchal systems, you have got to be doing the work of building actual community. And that starts within because you are your first community, right? You are your first act of liberation. You are your first site of activism. So that work has to become something so deep, so intrinsic on a regular basis because liberation is not a one-time event. You're not going to come to this amazing summit that Saoirse's putting on with all of these amazing women and leaders and matriarchs. No, you are already that. Nothing that we're going to say here is going to make you one. You are one. You have to tap into that, right? Like all of the ingredients are there. Like you can go make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich just like you could become a matriarch because you are. It's there. It's just that simple. I got me some bread. I got me some peanut butter. I got me some jelly. Let's go. Let's make this sandwich. That's pretty much how it goes, right? Like I know that this kind of went elsewhere from what I promoted, but I promise you this is where it's supposed to be because Saoirse called in the Nans to come and guide me. And so they told me what to say and they pinched me in the back of my neck. So that is where we are. I'm out of time, correct? That's
No,
how
you've
you
still got a
there.
few minutes left. You don't have to go.
Okay, yay! So I don't know if there's been any chitter chatter or any comments, and if so, fair enough, I will answer that. If not, I want us to deeply reach in and recognize that these pillars of supremacy culture, patriarchal systems, are the most unnatural thing that exists. And in order for us to truthfully lean in, go deeper, we have got to become much more connected with our natural cycles, right? On what's happening in our world. And I know that that is so difficult underneath capitalism. I know that it's so difficult underneath patriarchy, but those are the keys to taking back that power. is to move in that, to tell yourself that you absolutely deserve ease, right? And more importantly, everyone deserves ease. That's the trick. It's not just you. Everyone deserves ease. Everyone is supposed to have a life that feels good, that your body wakes up and says yes to. Because the same exact way no is a complete sentence, enthusiastic yes, right? You want consent in all things. That's what I mean. You should wake up in the morning and yeah, we'll ebb and flow, but ultimately it should be a yes. Everything you should do should be a fuck yes. The way it's absolutely not, fuck yes. When Saoirse said, do you want to do this? Fuck yes. Yes, that is what I want to do. I want to be a part of it. I want to be in the room. I want to talk with people. I want people to know that they are so worthy of being, existing, having community, living in a child-centered way, um, and just really truthfully enjoying life as they should. That's pretty much um, where I kind of land on, right? So here's my final little transmission is that you do not dismantle supremacy culture or patriarchal systems by thinking differently. You dismantle it by redesigning the systems that you are a part of. That's where intersectionality comes into. One household, one organization, one decision at a time. So what I invite you to do is choose one system in your life. You got to start it slow. Apply one of the frameworks, which will come in the replay because we only got through a few, and begin the redesign because you have that power. Matriarchy is built one structure at a time. I really deeply thank you for being here, for sitting with me, for listening to me, for having me. I am honored to be here. That's pretty much where I'm at, my friends. I will try to play a song.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Desiree. That was really, really beautiful, really, really potent, and really, really just like a lot to think about and a lot to go away and work on. And I loved that little simple message, or prompt you gave us to really see it's not a lot to go away and work on. We just have to, start living like matriarchs now from where we are with what we've got
Yeah.
and what we can change. And that quote comes to mind, like, I am no longer willing to, oh, fuck, what is it? Not change the things I cannot change, but I'm willing to change the things that I can.
Oh yeah. God grant me the wisdom to change the things that I can change, the wisdom and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah, something like that. But no,
Something
it's
like
not
that.
that one. It's
Yeah.
a different one, but I'll send it out in the replay with everything because it's just, we can actually change things in our everyday, in our intimate relationships, in our the way we relate to our children, in the way we relate to our romantic partners, in the way we relate to our friends and our sisters, in the way we relate to our work colleagues, in the way we relate to Mother Earth and how we, walk gently on her. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just it actually is so simple. Patriarchy is the one that's confusing and conflicting, and this matriarchy is actually so simple, and we get to just start making those little changes, and yeah, just doing what we can from where we are right now with who we have around us. And as you said, like, just reaching out to your neighbors, making some soup, and just doing those lovely things that
Simple.
bring back that sense of connection, which we are all so cut off from. Oh yes, this is the quote: I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change, I am changing the things that I cannot accept. And that's where we're at.
As the kids say, clock it. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. I want that in the replay.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today. Anyone watching the live and the replay, I will put all of Desiree's links. Follow her on Substack. Get involved in her world. You can feel her energy. You can feel her wisdom. You're an incredible facilitator, and I know there's so much more there. So maybe you should do a little 3-part series or something on all of the
Oh,
magic you sent
Yeah.
me, because yeah, it's just like, it's really, really powerful and potent. And thank you so much for taking the time today. I'm glad we got to meet Morrigan and Erin in the background too. And I look forward to co-creating more magic with you, my
I
sister
do
from
as
another mister.
well. I do as well. Thank you so much, Sarah. I love the work that you're doing. I love the way you show up in the world, right? And part of matriarchy is there's so much space for us all, right? When you think of we are of Mother Earth, right? And look at how vast she is and how she continues giving us, right? Like there's so much space in here. So thank you for the way that you show up in the world. Thank you for making space for others to show up in the world. You're doing wonderful work, and I'm thankful to be a part of it.
Thank you, darling. That's really beautiful. All right, thank you. And